Welcome to the Field Notes podcast, presented by Seaworthy Functional Medicine. Seaworthy exists to help you overcome your complex health challenges so you can be fully vital. Now, here's your host, Dr. Rob Downey.
How can we benefit from learning about mystery illnesses and our capacity to know what's going on from an expert? Today, we are so fortunate to be joined by Dr. Jen Mann. Dr. Jen, thanks for being on the podcast today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Rob.
So just such a cool topic and really a great part of this season. I'm often talking with my patients about what I characterize as body intelligence. I don't even know if I ran into that from another expert or it just sort of emerged in my practice. But we're going to be talking today about how to decode what your body is really saying with these mystery illnesses. And there's sort of no bigger topic because our age is characterized by all this stuff happening. And of course, you and my patients many of them are just really frustrated with pills and procedures for things they know have root causes. But today's topic is so great because it's not focused on testing or tech. It's really the opposite. It's about understanding what's going on. So we're going to go through a series of questions. You're going to illuminate for us how that works, right?
Great, excellent. Yeah, we have a whole technology inside of us too.
Yeah, awesome. So just for our audience who I thank for joining us, Dr. Jen is a naturopathic doctor and a leader at Nova Wellness, a naturopathic practice in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's been in conventional integrative medicine for many years, and she focuses on autoimmunity, digestive issues, thyroid, which is much of my practice as well. So a lot of nice cross-pollination to start with. Okay, well, let's just start then by how do we balance the science of functional medicine with the art of intuitive healing?
hmm I think, they call it the healing arts. And I think that says a lot. There is an art form to healing. There is an art form to providing medicine as a clinician. And the science is strong. Science is very compelling. But I think when you merge that with the art of healing, then you get a lot more power to it. And I feel like in our culture, healing is not talked about. We talk about fixing, we talk about taking pills. Even in functional medicines, often take this supplement and take this stack and do your sauna or cold plunge, and there's like a formula. But there's something beyond that when you're willing to feel into what is it to become more whole? What is it to truly heal? What is it to truly be with myself in a way that's loving and healthy, that you get so much more depth to your healing journey, and I think so much more healing.
Mm. I think it's such great timing to be having this conversation. I was just chatting with I practiced solo for a number of years, had my ND mentor, my hero I was mentioning to you as we got ready for today, and then practiced solo for many years. And now a nurse practitioner has joined the practice. We were chatting about stacks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think stacks are a clever way to think about things, but the sort of default then is people are sort of these frogs hopping from one lily pad, from one stack to the next. And and it's uh, uh, let's say there's five stacks of 3 to 4 things each. Nobody's maintenance plan is 20 things. And often those of us that have been doing this sort of thing longer, we can find things in that layer that you're going to characterize for us today that can be resolved without a stack. So I get why stacks are happening, but I don't, well, I just never had the luxury in my practice to have people on a lot of supplements. My whole practice has been on Montana and Alaska. So maybe it's just that I don't have a stack practice because um, I got to be an artist with fewer paints or, I don't know, a guitar with fewer strings.
Mm-hmm.
But um, yeah, so then let's talk then about, um, and correct me, if you think stacks have a place. I do think they have a place. I just think there's a more distilled or concentrated way to, oh, I know what I should have said. I disserve my patients by a tests and pills approach before I had my own freestanding practice. And the
Uh-huh.
nurse
Yeah.
and the receptionist in my clinic they said to me, "Do you want to know what's really happening?" And I said, "Yeah."
Mhm.
They said, "When we run into your patients in town that are disenchanted, it's just substituting one set of pills and tests for another."
Yes.
So I
Uh-huh.
should make this into a true confession, right? I had to learn the hard way to say to people, you have to make a lifestyle play for the supplements to work, and you need to be mentally, emotionally, spiritually centered for the lifestyle to work. So,
Oh, I love that. Yeah, there's
okay.
something about, I mean, there's what you do, taking the pills or eating the protein at breakfast or the things you're prescribed to do. And then there's how you do it and how you incorporate it into your life and how you um, kind of approach it and cultivate a lifestyle of health and cultivation of the life you want to be living. And without that, it's like you're just checking things off a list. It can be disconnected and mostly in the mind, and it just doesn't take as deeply.
Mm. Well, should we talk next then about a reframe? Is that the kind of logical next step, is how people can
Sure.
reframe things?
So I'll just share a little bit about myself so there's some context. I started having depression issues, fatigue issues when I was about 12. And it was said, oh, you're anxious or you're depressed but it got worse and worse. Through my 20s, I started not being able to go out. I started, taking naps everywhere I was. I was missing out on a lot of life. I was in a very dark place, and I was doing a lot of therapy. I was trying to figure out my way out of it, and I couldn't. So I pushed through. I tried medications. I tried exercise. I tried everything I knew, and I actually had a calling in my career to become a naturopathic doctor. I had gone to a lecture, and it was like this light bulb went off, and I was like, I have to follow this path. I ended my job doing environmental scientist work, and I became a naturopathic doctor. And then in that pursuit, found out like I had a lot of things going on. I had an autoimmune thyroid condition called Hashimoto's. I come from a long line of people with autoimmune disease. And I really set out in my career to figure out like, what is this? Why do I have this? What is this about? How do I deeply resolve this? Because the path I was going down in my life was not one that I wanted to go down, one of depression, of missing out, of I wanted to live this fire that I felt inside of me. And so I think what that led me to was a beautiful career and learning about the mystery of healing and what is healing and becoming healthier and feeling great in my body physically. But it also led me to a life that was so much more aligned and so much bigger and so much more fulfilling than what I had before. That mystery illness really brought me into a higher level um, of I want to say embodiment, of fulfillment, of purpose, of activation of myself in this life. And so if we stop looking at mystery illnesses as something to fix, or there's something wrong with me, or there's a set of symptoms that need a diagnosis and a pill, and we look at it as a path to healing or a path to becoming who we're meant to be, it's a much richer, much more fulfilling, much more connected experience. So I
Mm.
think that's one of the biggest reframes we can make around mystery illnesses is taking it from something being so wrong about me or something so wrong about that I have to fix into, okay, this is maybe a path that's directing me into becoming the person I'm meant to be. If you
Mm.
can make that switch,
Mhm.
there's a lot less suffering in the process, a lot more curiosity, a lot more connection to yourself and to community and to the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. And it's so great when I hear from folks. They're initially intimidated. They're so fatalistic. They just think they're stuck with something forever. And so that invitation to recognize there could be a blessing in adversity, I often find the sequencing is sort of meeting them in their pain and just acknowledging it, that they're feeling
Mm.
fatalistic, and then saying, a lot of folks with functional and naturopathic approaches do really well with this issue, with autoimmunity, with fatigue, with mood issues. I think there's a high likelihood you're going to do well, also, it seems we get to then hear their stories about befriending the process and seeing this as a liminal space into something transformative and growing. We just hear it all the time. Oh, I didn't know this. I learned that. It was so cool as I started to get traction. Then I got along better with my boss or my kid, or it was
Mhm.
easier to run, or I found out I didn't like running, but I really love swimming, or whole food tastes so delicious now. It was easier to give up sugar. It's just really fascinating, all the transformative things that happen with that befriending of the process.
I've seen people switch careers. I've seen people make moves to, the wilderness. I've seen people meet the love of their life. I've seen so many things that are
Hmm.
part of healing. I had a client
Hmm.
last year. She was really all these mystery symptoms, like a lot of numbness and tingling, a ton of fatigue. She fell in love, and all her energy came back. So, when you open up the
Yeah.
box of healing and the process of
Yeah.
all sorts of miracles happen, all sorts of things
Mm.
come together to create more health and vitality, which I think is what it's really about, not a
Yeah.
stack of supplements.
I'm glad you brought that up, Dr. Jen. I haven't mentioned it in a while, but I got to, I've been the beneficiary of Reiki, energy healing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it's so weird, the origin story of that in my life, because an emergency medicine doctor at the University of Utah, when I was a second year medical student, super conservative place, the last place you'd expect, finding Reiki blossoming at the University of Utah was like finding an orchid,
Mm.
you know, in a metropolitan setting.
Mm-hmm.
But he just came in and said that when his wife was dying of cancer, he was taught to provide Reiki to her. She got 12 hours of relief. She only got an hour of relief from opiates.
Mm.
And so,
Amazing.
a couple of different times over the years, Reiki practitioners helped me. But the wild part to me was that the consent was A, to receive healing energy, and B, to accept the risk of growth and healing.
Mm.
It was so wild to me. That was the consent. This could change your
Mm.
career. This could change your relationships. This could reset where you set your boundaries. What are you going to do if you have all this energy? What are you going
Yes.
to do if you don't identify with your illness anymore? I just thought that was the wildest and most beautiful consent of all. Are you ready to heal? Are you consenting?
Opening up to the unknown,
Yeah. Yeah.
up
And
into
they,
a new life, a new way of being, a new you.
hmm
Yeah.
And I strongly identified with a lot of, I'd have said, oh yeah, I'm the first that's ready to grow. I'm definitely that archetype. And then the bunch of things I let go of very much had to do with identifying with my limitations. So,
Mm-hmm. I will say the other part of mystery illness that's you can work with too, if you identify with that, like you're like, I can't figure out a diagnosis, I can't figure out the name for this. No one's telling me what this is. I'm going to all these specialists. The other beauty in that is that you don't have a diagnosis, and you are you. And to be able to be like, well, what is this for me? What's happening in my body without that extra label can sometimes actually be helpful because you're not putting yourself in a box, you're not putting yourself in an identity, you're not putting yourself in like a course of medication or down a road of specialists. It really comes down to what's going on with you. And really that's true of any condition. I tell people that if you have irritable bowel syndrome or you have a thyroid issue or I can work with 10 people with Hashimoto's. The reason behind the Hashimoto's, a thyroid condition, and what they need to do is going to be different for every single person. So the mystery illness thing can be kind of an in
mhm.
because you're not layering it with ideas about how things are, what they should be, or what should work with you. It's really just you and the truth of your body that's going to direct you towards your health.
I think a lot of our audience resonates with this, but it's so important. I still want to highlight and underscore the importance of what Dr. Jen just shared, in that I see so many people in my practice visits 1 through 3, even folks that don't keep working in this setting. Uh, they just feel so pinned. They want the name, they want the fix,
Yeah.
because it's going to, I think it's because they think it's going to relieve the existential imperative that they've got this existential threat.
Mm.
If I don't get my energy back, if I don't quit hurting, if my joints don't work, then my job's going to fall apart. I'm not going to be a breadwinner. I'm going to fall behind at work. I'm going to get chronically ill. I'm going to get a second or third autoimmune condition. And so, what I hear you saying and what I see in my patients is it's such a relief when they just get to be in their body, they just get to be in their life. And that trust of the process,
Mm-hmm.
and then finding somebody they trust to be with them on the journey
Mm-hmm.
is such a relief. I think that's when their eyes start to brighten a little, their skin gets a little flatter, their skin gets a little rosier. They start to say, oh, okay. Yeah, there's a path forward. And again, what a relief not to have a name. If there's an ANA positive autoimmunity marker and they don't have lupus, to
Mm-hmm.
me, I just always say, well, it's this little cloud on the horizon of autoimmunity. There's a very high
Mm.
likelihood you'll never develop a nameable autoimmune condition. Isn't that great?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And owning the lightness of that instead of the
Yeah.
disappointment, like I don't have a diagnosis. You don't want a diagnosis. You don't need
Yeah.
to have one.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're really relieved. And then I think they have a little bit of grief or they say, I keep saying this. I just never heard it back from the doctor.
Mm.
So they're really relieved when a healer on their team says, yes,
Mhm.
and keep running with this. You still want
Yeah.
to, if we have a name, we'll use that too. Great, we'll just pull it all in, but you can be well.
Yeah. And it's following that thread to your wellness. So for
Yeah.
me in my own healing, I always like there was something in me that always knew I could feel better. And it was like continuing to follow that thread. And I think that like we all have an inner healer in us. We all have part of us that knows when we feel good, that knows when things are right, when knows when we're deeply healthy, and cultivating a relationship with that inner feeling and letting that guide the process rather than a diagnosis or labs, which are tools that are helpful. But I hold that as secondary to this more inner uh, a draw
Hmm.
to what makes us feel good.
Hmm. Brilliant. I gotta say, the thing that sort of helped me break the chains of my own. I mean, I think those of us trained at conventional medicine that then go into functional medicine feel like to some degree we broke the chains of our
Mm.
misunderstanding, quit the mechanistic view of the body.
Hmm.
Heart's a pump, the nerves are wires, the guts are plumbing. Really. But the body knows the way is the phrase I hear myself saying the most.
Mm.
And and that's a pretty radical concept in contemporary Western culture.
Yeah.
There's such a vibe of brokenness.
Hmm.
Uh, and so again, I think this is a relief to people, but they're also anxious. Um, we in our prep for today talked about all the information that's out there. So for this next part, Dr. Jan, let's talk about then people trusting that their body knows the way,
Mm.
as you're describing. So share with us some specifics about that. And here we can go kind of a la carte. So we can talk about, myths about health you'd like everyone to unlearn, or this is probably the best. Share 3 things someone could do today to start feeling more connected to their body.
Hmm. So I want to hold the premise that you are the one healing yourself. That's my underlying assumption with all my clients, that they are the ones healing themselves. Everything else out there is a tool to support you in that process. So I kind of want to share that there's a temptation to give our authority over to a doctor or to AI or to a new supplement or some sort of fad. But the assumption I'm holding for myself and with all my clients is that you have the way within you, that you're ultimately the expert, the main expert in your own health, and everything else there is a tool to support you. And there are lots of great tools to help you. but holding those secondary, and your relationship with yourself primary. So there's a number of tools we start with our clients to help them build that primary relationship with themselves. A lot of times after mystery illnesses and the things going wrong for a long time, or with me, like with autoimmune, it was like, why does my body keep attacking itself? Why do I keep creating these things? I mean, there's just so much resentment and anger towards myself with all those things going on for so long. So beginning to like repair that relationship with yourself. One simple way to do that is to do like a body scan, where you close your eyes and you just scan your body for sensations, starting at your toes and going up your legs and your abdomen, chest, out your arms, up your head, and just get familiar with sensation without labeling it as wrong or something you have to fix or part of your diagnosis. But just that simple exercise of, I mean, this is mindfulness. Mindfulness is ancient, of beginning to build a connection with your body, the sensations in your body, and experiencing them without judging them. That is a simple thing anyone can do that is so loving and begins to repair that relationship with ourselves. That's kind of number one: mindfulness, self-love, building some self-compassion, being with ourselves. So hard in this culture. Everything pulls us out of ourselves. Everything's grabbing for our attention outside of ourselves to make us think we need something outside of ourselves. But number one is starting to come back in, feeling yourself and connecting with your body.
It's no mistake that the body scan is the beginning of so many meditations and yoga practices.
Yeah. And then watching the mind, watching how much it wants to assess and judge and compare, and just bring it back to like pure sensation.
My wife's she just completed 2 years with Tara Brach and Jack Kornfield to teach meditation.
Great.
And I just have so much respect for her. It's can't do much better than having a yogi in the household, right? I mean, it just makes everything more chill and positive.
That's beautiful. Yeah, good for you.
And I asked her for her definition of mindfulness, and she said, non-attached awareness of our experience, met with compassion. And the part that had sort of drifted out of my practice, that having a mastery level practitioner in my household brought back full circle for me, was the compassion. We'll talk in a minute about the hustle culture or rigid wellness routines, but I think so many of us are our own harshest critic, that many of the folks I invite into mindfulness, it's almost the worst thing they can imagine tuning into the radio station of their experience, because all that judgment's going to start flooding. They're not, they're not Netflixing or semi-dissociating themselves out of it. And
yes.
Certainly for me, this is a big part of my mindfulness and meditation practice is, but when I can compassionately meet the critic and say, hey, you've got a legitimate origin, you've got a legitimate genesis story, but you're not the CEO, you're just part of the tribe. And I love you. I get it why you're here. But, there's a bunch of us here, a bunch of parts. And then just, I think the compassion is the invitation I would sort of invoke around anybody who feels like they can't meditate or mindfulness doesn't resonate with them. It's the compassion. And again, I would call it the courage to love our experience.
Yes. All of our experience. And this is not a path for the faint of heart, healing these types of things. It's like, if this is part of your path, I don't know that I would ever wish this on anyone, that like, this be part of the path, but there are lots of opportunities in it. And the ability to be with our experience, the physical pain, the discomfort, the inflammation, the disappointment that can come with it, you get to grow in that capacity. And then you grow in your compassion for other people too.
Yeah. Yeah, I find when we meet at all, there's some really neat pockets of joy and richness as well. Some really sweet things sort of pop up like crocuses in the spring, all kind of mixed together.
Yeah, I had a client telling me the other day that they'd been doing this for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden they were teaching their mom to cook. They were teaching their neighbor Instant Pot recipes. You know, it was like it was overflowing into other people at that
Hmm.
point. It was so integrated in her
Mm,
that it
mm.
started spilling out into her community.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost invariably the plot twist, like any good novel or any good story, I think some of the plot twists are sort of one of the greatest reasons to take this journey to encourage
Mm-hmm.
people. Some of the best things that happen are wonderful surprises.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think this I think this part then about hustle culture or rigid wellness routines, I think it's really important to talk to you about this. So we're going to talk about your recommendations for integrating enjoyment into people's healing
Mm-hmm.
process. We've touched on it, but let's ask you specifically, is the hustle culture or rigid wellness routines, are these a trap of sorts or a stuck loop, or a side eddy in the healing river that people sort of swirl in inadvertently?
Yes. Short answer is yes. I'm in the Bay Area, right? So we have a very big hustle culture here, high pressure. It's financially very difficult here. So people feel a lot of overachievers here. So, there's a saying in chronic illness, it's like what you got you here is not what's going to get you out of here. So just like you were speaking to parts before, there's a kind of the critic part of us. And most of my clients, there's a very strong perfectionistic part of us too, a very high achieving part. And while that can be wonderful, I love people pursuing their desires. There's the shadow side to it, which can be very strict, very rigid, very critical, and create more of that pattern of illness that kind of got you there to begin with, by pushing too hard or pushing through signals from your body, by running that cortisol all the time, by not sleeping enough, by all the things that hustle culture creates in our lives, and not enough time to be just doing. So if we apply that same mentality to our wellness routine, it's going to drive similar thought patterns, self-criticism, overdoing it in the wellness way too.
Mhm.
So I think it's kind of a shadow side of the wellness industry, of health and healing. Is this Instagram perfect stack, perfect routine, and then all the criticism that comes from like not doing it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's finding how can we approach it different?
Give us some specifics there. I'm sure our audience is saying yes. So how do I break the spell?
Mhm. Yeah, good question. So one inquiry that I think is really, there's a couple attitudes we really encourage with our clients, and I encourage myself as a practitioner too, because I can get into some of the same habits. One is holding an attitude of curiosity. So we talked a bit about mindfulness. I think mindfulness neighbor is curiosity. What happens when I do this? What is my body telling me now? What's the reaction I got? What works, what doesn't? A certain level of like playfulness and curiosity in the process. So if things quote unquote go wrong, like we start off with an elimination diet with our clients, and they're always like, well, what if I fall off of this or whatever? It's like, well, be curious. Like, what happened when you were doing this so rigidly for 2 weeks, and then you went to a wedding and like you drank the champagne and the wine and the fried foods and smoked the cigarette, and how did your body feel? Like, can you bring an attitude of curiosity to that? Like, what what did that bring? So I'm always in great. If you fell off, okay, what did you learn? What happened? What was the truth of that experience? And can you stay in an attitude of playfulness, self-compassion, and curiosity around it.
Mm.
I think another piece that I find really fun too is experimenting with pleasure. So we all know pleasure in the sense of, what you did, the wedding, the cigarette, the martini, the, the debauchery, whatever. That is a certain flavor of pleasure. But I think there is a level of pleasure that's not just about being rigid, that's not about following certain rules, that comes from deeply caring for yourself, uh, exquisitely taking care of yourself in a very loving, compassionate way. And this is going to be different for everyone. For me, I can't tell you the level of joy that comes from having something fermenting in my kitchen.
Hmm.
And it's a type of like connectedness I feel to nature, that I feel in taking care of myself, that I feel a satisfaction in making my own food, the satisfaction in something growing. Um, it's a different kind of pleasure that comes
Hmm.
from that level of connectedness.
Hmm.
And I think deep health holds that level of and that flavor of pleasure. So with my clients, like you were saying, like the swimming versus running, like you were saying in the beginning, it's like, well, is that more enjoyable to you in a deeply connected, nourishing way? Um, and if we can find that thread of pleasure, then the process really shifts.
Hmm. For me, those changes in my own life have felt like waking up.
Mm.
So all uh, the smell of making food for the week on Sunday, listening to music in the kitchen and slowing
Mhm.
down to smell the herbs when they're chopped up to season something, or actually taste a carrot before it gets steamed to go in its little jar, and really attending to when it's fork tender. Uh, just the way I like it, right? Finally learning how to use a pressure cooker. Uh, um, it's very much like the smell of summer when I grew up in Montana. There's
Mm.
a richness to it and an awakening and an immediacy. And I kind of always encourage people to that fresh feeling of being in the now, and a really sort of multifaceted, multisensorial uh, sense of immediacy. It's almost
Mhm.
a little startling. What? I get to do this? This is this is healing. I get to actually do this. That's a really
Yes.
good sign.
Like deeply more awake, more alive, more sensual, more connected. Yeah, the fork and the carrot, like I love that. It's just so present and so uh um alive and nourishing and yeah, I think that level is where vitality is too.
Mm,
And
yeah.
we're not just trying to fix something, we're trying to cultivate more aliveness. In naturopathic medicine, one of our main tenets is stimulating the vis, which is a Latin word for our vitality. And the more we can create that level of vitality, and in this country, I was in Italy last year and I was like, oh my God, it's like everywhere, this level of vitality. I loved it. Here it's like in the middle of tech world, it can get kind of construed or lost.
Mhm.
But that is, if we can cultivate more and more of that, then illness just often fades
Mm,
away.
mhm. Mm. Well, I think this next topic then around nervous system dysregulation is really a sensible segue, because one of the things I flashed on while you were talking is that when people are doing everything right, but they're doing it in stress to stress mode, so the
Mm.
sympathetic nervous system is more dominant than it's meant to be. What I see in my practice all the time is people's digestion is shut off, their immunity is shut off, their fertility is shut off.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, and admittedly, here I am sort of criticizing mechanistic thinking, but I kind of think of it as like a hardware software issue. just the part of the software that's meant to be kind of the threat management system has sort of become the CEO. And so I'm always talking to people about, make your prefrontal cortex the executive again. Like have the security team just deal with threats, and security team's not qualified to be the CEO
Mm,
anyway.
yeah.
So those are sort of the conversations I have here. But what are signs that people's nervous system is dysregulated, and then how can they start to restore that balance? You've talked about it, but let's be granular because again, I think our audience will really want to know what you have to share about that.
Yeah, and I want to kind of, again, like I think with all of this, like we have to be careful how we frame it, right? Like we can make ourselves wrong for being dysregulated.
Mm-hmm.
And and then that makes us more dysregulated. So we have to
Mm-hmm.
be really tender and caring around this topic to not shame ourselves more. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the truth is like we live in a dysregulated culture. And humans are easily dysregulated. We have a negative bias built into us for survival. So, meaning we're going to kind of look at the scarier aspects of things because we want to survive. And this is what's been put into us in our evolution. So, just know like you're not wrong for getting dysregulated. You're not wrong for, looking at the negative side of things. And that we all, especially these days, have to really cultivate regulating our nervous system. Like I think it just needs to be a practice that we all do. So, dysregulated nervous system, you might see that examples of that, like you're not sleeping well, you're waking up in the middle of the night, you're running a lot of looping thoughts, you're very anxious. Physically, your menstrual cycles could be off, more PMS, lower libido, gut issues, heart palpitations, all these symptoms of being revved up, really, is how I think about it, just overactivated and looking out for the scanning for the dangers, and everything becomes faster because of that. And so we have to build in ways to slow that nervous system down. And I think with that vein of pleasure, because we all need to do this, let's find a pleasurable way to do this. Like, what do you enjoy in that way? Do you enjoy yin yoga? Do you enjoy getting into open water swimming? Do you enjoy redwoods? What is it that you feel that deep connection with that we were talking about before? Do you love cooking a meal and listening to beautiful music? What are the things that you can just naturally build into your life? But it does have to be a practice. And I think it does have to be part of everyone's plan, whether you identify as being ill or you just want to be healthy or have longevity. This is becoming a more and more important aspect of anyone's wellness plan.
Mm, brilliant.
What are some of the things that you do, Rob?
I don't know that I could say it much better than you. I just invite them.
Yeah.
I just invite them to I invite them to ask if they're craving that, but they're not, but it's scary to acknowledge it.
Yeah. It's a different place of craving, right? It's not a.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And maybe it'd be if maybe it'd be if your relationships were a hard road and then you're finally with somebody who's kind to you. The
Mm.
feeling is this gonna last?
Mhm.
Is can I risk
Mm.
this? Because if I get hurt again by this person, it's going to hurt twice as much as the other relationships because I kind of knew they were cruel, but this person seems kind. Um, so I think also just my practice being in Montana and Alaska, all my patients have a really high pain point. I mean, by the
Uh-huh.
time I meet them, they are just up against it. I mean, all suffering is suffering, all suffering matters, but there's a flavor of stoicism I see in my practice where
Mm.
I think the fatalism in my patients is a pretty strong vein, and it's really beautiful to me how many, whether they're a commercial fisherman or fisherwoman or a truck driver or an executive or a lawyer,
Mm.
there's a lot of them wanting to be invited to to be kind to themselves, get into their own body, be present in their body, embody their experience, start a mindfulness app, listen to some music, make some food on the weekend, take a walk with their dog, call their brother. And then I learned from our coaches, yeah, what's your own call to action? What's that incremental next step? Is it just switching out the donuts to chia pudding? Is it calling your brother?
Yeah.
Is it slowing down to pet your dog in the evening for 5 minutes before you start multitasking? What are you craving right now? And I think I love Keisha Ewers and others talking about signals of safety. And to me, this
Mhm.
dovetails really beautifully into what you're saying. We need to be sending signals of safety to ourselves and showing up for ourselves. The part of us that's saying, I'm craving this.
Mm.
Okay, that's sending a signal of safety, almost like a kid. I don't want to go to the big league ball game. I want to walk the dog today. Okay, let's go out with Spot. I'll sell my tickets to Joe. Let's let's do what
Mhm.
you want to do. I think it comes back full circle to the agency. Anytime the experts that I interview talk about agency, I resonate so strongly with that word because that's part of what feels like it's falling apart, but it's still right there for all of us.
Mhm.
Our
Mhm.
birthright of agency and presence in our own life and awareness, and that we heal
Mhm.
ourselves, that doesn't go away. Nothing
Mhm.
about the changes in the world change that. And so
Mhm.
people get these little tastes, and I think their confidence comes back. I think it's really
Mhm.
deep healing, almost like a little, this is where it's hard not to get poetic, right? But like a little fractal seed of light starts resonating out through their
Mhm.
consciousness, and you can just see it. They're more at ease. They quit
Mhm.
hunching against their existence.
Mm. And I hear what I'm hearing and what you're sharing too is like the vulnerability of taking a risk and letting
Hmm.
in the possibility that you could feel better, or you could feel more connected, or you could enjoy things more, and
Yeah,
the ability of like, oh, maybe I can heal. It's very brave.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think people anticipate that's going to be the courage step. I think they feel like
Mm.
it's going to be they got to buy a Vitamix and
Right.
follow through, get on the
Yes.
treadmill. And and I just get to hear great stories. A story I haven't been able to share recently, but a woman in her 80s was sleeping 3 hours a night and had been sleeping 3 hours a
Mm.
night for 30 years, lived
Mm.
with her sister, and just somebody mentioned to this woman a visit with me might be productive. And we got a little magnesium rolling, and given magnesium superpowers for helping sleep, I have to acknowledge, had a great supplement at hand. But I knew this woman was not going to download a mindfulness app, not as an ageist comment, but
Mhm.
just in
Mhm.
terms of reading the room. There's no way she was going to download Headspace. I don't think she even had a smartphone. But we just talked about what it would feel like to feel that way. And so then she and her
Mm.
sister had records of piano music with the sounds of nature.
Mm.
And so they just started spinning vinyl and sitting on the porch in the evenings. And then um, she'd put her magnesium gel on. And then she started sleeping 7 hours a night.
Oh.
Wow, that's
Mm.
pretty great.
It's incredible.
So,
But to
so
do it in that way, by listening to music on the porch with your sister and then, massaging yourself with magnesium gel, that's,
social connection,
yeah.
raindrops, frogs croaking, piano gently
Yeah.
rolling along. I mean, just this multifaceted, and the resource was sitting right there.
Mhm.
It was already in the household. So
Mhm.
anyway, it's really kind of you to ask me. Yeah, because it's a topic I love. I mean, this is why I could never go back.
Mhm.
I feel it would be frankly unethical to withhold the toolkit I have now and go back to a mechanistic way of, I love conventional medicine. I love
Oh,
finding
yeah.
plumbing problems that need a plumber and saying, hey,
Yes.
honestly, go get your plumbing fixed and then we'll do a ton of functional medicine. You'll love it.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
this bowel stricture or small bowel obstruction or, patch of really angry inflammation needs such and such right now. This is what I would do if it were me. But the part I love is the part we're talking about today. Like, I feel like that's, me honoring my calling. I could do it all day, every day. A person in your state who's a luminary in my world, Dan Kalish, said, have your job be the same thing you would do in a world without money.
Mm. Yeah.
And
To me, watching people get more alive, build more aliveness is like the most beautiful thing. Like it never gets old.
oh yeah. Oh
And my quest, in myself,
yeah.
to become more embodied, become more alive, become more connected, become a better lover of life.
Yeah.
And to see that in other people is like the most fulfilling thing. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the best radio station ever. It's
Yeah.
tuning into it. Just never, it's always fresh. Always feels great. Well, is there anything you've learned since you started doing this that you'd love to get a chance to share that you don't get to talk about much? Or did we kind of get the, you know,
This is a lot of the juice,
yeah,
that runs
yeah.
through that really that move from fixing to becoming more alive.
Hmm.
And then we talked a little bit before, but my role as a clinician, when I was doing my healing, I was in a community I was in school. So I was in a community, I was learning about the body, I was taking cooking classes, herbalism classes. I was with a great group of friends. And a lot of healing happens in connection and community. And it's not just about your stack. So we were talking a little bit before about the role as a clinician, which keeps evolving as our culture keeps evolving. And when I started, there was a lot of information transmission. Now people are coming in so much more educated, have access to so much more information. There's so much out there. I mean, even in the wellness industry, from supplements to specialty foods to, the stuff I see at the grocery store, it's amazing.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
I think like finding someone to partner, like a clinician to truly partner with in this conversation, that as I've evolved into my practice, it's an ongoing conversation with my clients. There are times, of course, where I have expertise that I'm bringing, but it's within the conversation with them. And so the other piece of advice or other thing just to share is find people in your community and a practitioner that you want to partner with, where you can have this level of conversation, curiosity, discovery, because as things like AI become more and more powerful tools for information, that relational quality, I think, also really brings depth to the experience and fast tracks things.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that people sometimes, I think, now feel like they have to do it alone because there's so much information, so many tools out there. But we are meant to heal in community, we're meant to heal in partnership. And that's been true forever. Like we've
Hmm.
always had healers, shamans, people in the
Hmm.
community that help people with this. So
Hmm.
find support. And
Hmm.
I have lots of support in my life from
Yeah.
health, but also as a clinician, we all
Yeah.
need levels of support around us.
Yeah. Thank you. I love what you said about us. Made me think of being curators or stewards of ways for people to discern what matters to them, what's trustworthy, etc. That's a really sacred role and a really important one. I have a friend who probably, has spent more hours fly fishing than, almost anybody else on the planet. And when they had the chance to go to Alaska and fish for silver salmon, they specifically made sure it was a stewarded experience with somebody familiar with that river
Mhm.
and those fish and those bears. And there was a real humility in that their impulse was not to go sort of figure it out alone, but just the opposite to and also they considered it a sacred environment. We've been talking about the sacred path of healing. So it
Mhm.
always was another neat aspect of this person to me that their impulse was to make sure it was a stewarded and curated experience with somebody capable of going into that terrain. So
Mhm.
yeah, heartily endorse that idea to find somebody great to work with, like Dr. Jen, and you'll be well served and really take down the stress of trying to sort through a lot of information now.
Mhm. Yeah, I always tell people it's like we're going in, when people start, we're going in the woods, we're going to find our way through and out, but we're going in.
Yeah.
It's a whole lots in there,
Yeah.
discover. And it's easier when you have someone to support you with that discovery
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. Where can people find you, Dr. Jen? They can work with you in California, but they can
Mhm.
go to what you're going to share with us and learn a lot if they don't live there.
Yeah, so you can go to our website, novawellnessmed.com. We have lots of great information there. We have a blog, and you can follow us on social too if you're outside of California. If you're in California, we do work with clients. We work with people over time through wellness programs that, and do all this, bring community, education, testing, lifestyle, all that together. And if you want to explore that with us, we offer a free discovery call, and you can book there.
Mm, fantastic. What a great conversation. I'm just so thankful I got to talk with you today. You made my day.
Oh, thanks, Rob. I appreciate the depths of your soul and your care and your heart that you bring to your practice.
Mm,
I can tell.
mm,
Thanks for being in this family of people, all of us that are here, your listeners too, that genuinely want to heal and live a more alive life.
mm. Yeah, thank you for your kind words. That's the most important thing. You made a bunch of their day. That's why we're here. We got to serve. That's the best.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks for joining us for the Seaworthy podcast. Seaworthy exists to help people overcome their health challenges and be fully vital. If you think we've earned it, please consider giving this podcast a like, subscribing, and giving us a 5-star rating on the platform of your choice. Thanks.